knew when I strolled into Sephora that I would run into Danessa Myricks Pastel Dream Freedon Mini palette. I was in Orlando for a trip, and I mentioned this in my blurring balm and new blush video that you could watch up here down below, that because I was under the impression it was sold out on Sephora, Beautylish, DanessaMyricksBeauty.com, and it's sold only online, why would I run into it in store? The one box just sitting there on the Danessa Myricks shelf. As I strolled by, I wanted to check out her section because, you know, who knows? And there she was, just waiting for me, as if she was waiting for my arrival. And shame on me for not buying it right away when it became available for early access on Sephora's app. I took it for granted that it will be there. When it sold out and I saw that you just couldn't get it anywhere, I was like, okay, I'll wait when it's back in stock. And lo and behold, I was able to buy it anyway. Pastel Dream from the Freedon Palette system. If you're not familiar with Danessa Myricks Lightwork 6 Freedon Palette, that huge palette released last year, and let me go get it since I'm talking about it. And Lightwork 6 was kindly gifted to me by a subscriber, and I always have to mention that because I am still grateful for the gift, and was happy to see when Pastel Dream was announced that Danessa, I guess, is continuing releasing the sections to then fit in the Freedon Palette. At the time of Freedon Palette's release, it was marketed to be limited edition. I'm not entirely sure if it will become available again, but the great part about these minis is that it serves as its own palette. It comes with a lid. Actually, this is a mirror. It's magnetic, and that's your palette. Easy to travel with, easy to pack, accessible, and the pans themselves are magnetic. So who knows where Danessa will go from here, if she'll continue to release the what I call the sextets, or with the Freedon Palette minis, or individual pans where you could further customize not only the mini palettes but also the larger Freedon Palette with the other minis in there. The Pastel Mini retails for $48. Currently sold out at the time of filming on Sephora, Beautylish, and Danessa Myricks Beauty, but we shall see. We'll keep an eye out for its return, hopefully soon, if you don't have it and it's on your radar. A 6-shade multi-chrome all-over face palette featuring foil flake metallic shimmers and color-accurate soft mattes. So the soft matte is a newer formula not found in the original Freedon Palette Lightwork 6, and I believe the foil flake metallic shimmers might be in there as well, but I'm not entirely sure because when Freedon Palette release, it houses like 9 different formulas that I could not keep track of, but we do have the names behind here, and it does have a suggested shelf life of 12 months. So we only have a year with this. However, if you are careful with how it is stored in a cool, dry area in where you store your makeup, you should be okay beyond the 12-month mark, but just keep an eye on it. Let's start with the soft matte top row. First, we have Aqua Dream, a soft matte aqua teal, and you can see how true to color it is from pan to swatch. Next, we have Pink Mirage, which I would classify as an orchid. And lastly, we have Moon Dust, my favorite peachy brown type of a shade. Easily can be thrown on through the crease or wherever you like, but remember, this is a face palette. I could also experiment with Moon Dust to be applied on the cheeks. I actually have Danessa's Blurring Balm Flush Powder in Spice Latte. With her Blurring Balm Powder in 5.5, I love the setup for Pastel Mini. I think having like a warm neutral base paired with the pastels, it's a good way to go. Now the foil flakes, we have Galaxy Crush. See that there's some texture in the pan, but look how smooth that finger swatch pickup is. Looks to be a duochrome, and the shine is incredible. But oh my goodness, I just adore how this swatches. It's hard to see. You're getting aqua, violet, turquoise. There's a lot going on in this shade. Next, we have Pixie Quartz. Pixie Quartz is the most texture out of the bunch. However, if you can successfully press those flakes into the skin, then you'll be left behind with that beautiful pink iridescent finish. And lastly, we have Gilded Dream. Not a duochrome, or maybe it is, I can't tell, but you see it's more of a straightforward, just glassy champagne gold. It's just beautiful. I wanted to head over to the pink section of Lightwork 6 if you were wondering how Pixie Quartz compares with this one here. My apologies for not having all the names. Or maybe I can, let's see, we could flip over and I think it's Serenity, Joy. I could do Rejoice as well. Let's do Serenity first, which is this opalescent pink shade compared to Pixie Dust. So Pixie Dust appears to have a little more of that flakiness to the texture and maybe more reflectivity because of that. But Serenity takes on a similar hue and look to Pixie Quartz. And Joy appears to be more of like that neon pink, or it has a stronger pink base compared to Pixie Quartz. All that to say, if you already have the original Freedon Palette, you kind of have Pixie Quartz in the pink sextet, but it's not going to be as comprehensive as just the Pastel Mini, because the Pastel Mini is serving more than one color, whereas in the Freedon Palette, each section reflects a color story or like a more monochromatic take on those shades. But of course, this video is not only to share details and swatches for Pastel Dream, but sharing how I like to apply pastels, specifically with this palette. If you feel intimidated, you see Pastel Dream, you are enamored by it, you want to buy it, but you're like, what am I going to do with that? To help you approach pastels in having them appear more wearable. So that sounds like a plan. It's time for you to come in a little closer. First, going in with my Suku Eye Primer is fantastic for adding a little bit of tack for the lid. Not great in addressing discoloration. If you have an even lid skin tone that will interfere with the final look, I would suggest you grab another primer, but my lids are not too discolored, so we should be okay. You could also consider applying your blurring balm powder on the lids, but probably a lighter color will work out better, just so that your skin tone lid shade wouldn't add any brightening to, in this case, the pastels. One of my favorite ways to incorporate pastels in a look that is wearable and easy to achieve is to use the matte pastel shade and apply that on the inner corner. I'm using a small pencil brush for more precision and starting on the inner part of my eye and applying the shadow as if I would apply a highlight shade on the inner corner. Except now we are relying on the bright aqua shade to provide that highlight effect. And I think matte is so beautiful on the inner corner, especially in a shade like Aqua Dream, because it just adds a little bit of accent and color to your eyes without having to commit to the aqua shade all over your lid, which you most certainly can do. So for those who are not wimps with colors, you could apply Aqua Dream all over the lid, follow up with Galaxy Crush, and call it a day. And you're like, I'm done. I want more shiny on my lids. But if you're like, I'm not ready for that, please help. Smaller brush, inner corner. You could even keep it tighter to the inner corner, unlike how I did, right? I whipped it up higher towards the inner arc because I'm a little more confident with that application. But you could keep it even smaller and just tap it here so it appears more like a ball of color and not so much a wave of it, if that makes any sense. Another portion of the eye you could play with Aqua Dream on is now to take a smaller shader brush, which is flat on both sides, and nudge it on the lower inner lash line. This is a great way, in my opinion, to invite something like Aqua Dream into your look. And I'm so serious. You just wear it and go out like that. And you're like, really? Absolutely. You don't have to do a quote unquote complete eye look in covering each region of your eye, right? If we were to divide it by inner corner, lower lash line, lid, crease, and outer lid, brow bone, just pick one, plop on the pastel, and go. You could do lashes, you could do no lashes, mascara, no mascara. Maybe you add a cat eye wing if you're into that, but still wanted to incorporate a brighter shade. There you go. So you could go a little more bold by applying Aqua Dream on the inner corner, or a little more nuanced and applying Aqua Dream on the lower inner lash line. Pink Mirage doesn't have the same vibrancy as Aqua Dream, right? So this might fare better as maybe a lower lash line haze. But before we go on to the second eye, the way I applied Pink Mirage on my short was on the outer lid, as more like a winged out kind of effect. It doesn't have the same look as Aqua Dream, but I think placing it on the outer lid and kind of whipping it out softly to create that soft blended haze effect is a nice way to incorporate Pink Mirage, because you can see the immediate effect it has on my eye without it looking too forward, too color forward. If you're like, that's too much, we can apply that on the lower lash line, be more liberal with the application, not as precise as we were with Aqua Dream, and create just like that haze effect under the lash line. And again, you could leave this alone and just keep it as is. To follow up with one of the Shiny Shiny Foil Flake Shimmer shades, I'm thinking Gilded Dream on the center, where Aqua Dream and Pink Mirage bracket that application, or we could follow up with Moon Dust first on the second eye. Moon Dust, I'm going to tell you right now, I predict this will be my go-to summer crease shade. The color that if I just wanted an easygoing eye look to pair with the several blonder types of hues I now have in my collection, this is the one. It's soft, but not just a caramel brown. That peachiness to it, I just think adds beautiful character to the eye, and just that soft haze effect that's super easygoing and just can be swept on and done. And also, notes about this soft matte formula. It is a soft powder. You can kind of see how it looks in pan after I touch a brush to it. So just be careful with not picking up too much if you are treading carefully with these pastel applications. But not the same as what I think Danessa calls the satin, is it the satin mattes in Lightwork 6? Those were or are a hybrid cream to powder formula. It has like a little moussey texture to it. These are a truer powder formula, incredibly soft, great pickup with a brush, but incredible smooth blend on the eyes. Now this is what I did on my short. I applied Gilded Dream on the center, but I want to address both parts of, or all parts of the audience here in suggesting, yes, if you wanted to take it easy, you could have stopped right here where you're like, I just want to put Aqua Dream on the eye. I got to take it a day at a time. Leave me alone. Fine. If you wanted to incorporate one of the foil flake shimmers, dabbing Gilded Dream here on the center is a great way to go, where you have the shine, but it's not going to be as color heavy as these guys here, but you still have the color from Aqua Dream and Pink Mirage. We could look at Pixie Quartz, however, as the dominant lid shade. And again, we're looking at some flakes. However, the finger application should melt those flakes onto the skin, where it does not look textured, but will flatten out. And I'm purposely layering that over Pink Mirage, because Pink Mirage serves as a nice backdrop of color to carry that more pinky tone from Pixie Quartz. I actually want to follow up with a little more Pink Mirage. You don't have to do this, in that if you want to keep it just more on the outer lid as we started with, you can. I like to complete the edges of that Pixie Quartz application and just ensure that it looks cohesive, right? So that's a nice way to go. Also, we could add a little bit of Aqua Dream if we wanted, but I like what's going on. That's pretty. On this side, however, you could just leave it alone, or you could go in easily with Gilded Dream. But I just wanted to show how you can probably throw on Galaxy Crush on top of Moon Dust and be okay. Because listen, it's set up for you where it does the thinking on your behalf. Everything's set up as you see here. You could stick to the aqua column, the pink column, or the peachy brown column, pair those together and be set. But I think it's fun to experiment and see what the outcome is if combining something warm with something cool. What I like to do is apply Gilded Dream on the inner corner. And you could also apply Galaxy Crush as the inner corner color of choice. Because if you're like, I'm not applying any of these foil flake shimmers on my lid, are you kidding me? Never. You can apply them on your inner corner and still experience that beautiful duochrome effect without it taking over your entire lid. I just wanted to put that out there. But Gilded Dream is a fantastic shade to apply as highlight. It just has this glassy finish to it that's absolutely beautiful. So that's going to be our highlighter of choice. I could stop right there, okay? I probably am causing trouble in applying Galaxy Crush on the lid, but I just want to see what happens. Interesting. So having Moon Dust underneath Galaxy Crush is bringing more of that teal forward. I'm not detecting as much of the violet in there. Is actually giving Fire Opal from Pat McGrath's Bronze Seduction. That's what's happening. That's a lot of fun. And the shine is incredible. Where can we go from here? Well, what I did in my original short, I went in with Prada Beauty Liner Wood, which I think a great pairing, the softer brown paired with the pastels. Nice way to go. We could, however, apply a liquid liner. So let me grab it. I have some nerve. I'm out of practice, but let's see what we can do. I'm gonna start here in establishing the base of the wing. Get in there for the body of the wing. Katie Jane Hughes is exceptional at wings. I try to mimic how she does it, but I fail miserably each and every time. But that's not bad. I think not a total disaster. I could have brought it up more. I miscalculated the angle of my wingtip where it should have been higher, but it's okay. We're gonna leave it like that. Now, if you wanted to use a pencil liner, you very much well can apply it, but not in the same way I did in the short. It can be used as just adding a little more intensity and definition along the lash line if you wanted more contrast, right? And using the brown shade just softens the look overall without it appearing too intense. Like, this is not super intense, but if you didn't want something this bold, you most certainly can use a pencil in a softer color. It could be brown, it could be charcoal. I mean, if you have any of the Victoria Beckham Beauty satin Kajal liners, there's so many matte colors that you can use with this pastel look. And after we've applied the pencil, blending it out for it to appear softer along the lash line. All right, sorry for some lashes and I'll be right back. And here are the final looks using Danessa Myricks Pastel Dream Mini Freedon Palette. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and I'm happy to come on again in filming a video showcasing maybe 6 looks as I like to do. But I think the best way, or one of my favorite ways to approach pastels, is to use the color blocking method, something that we kind of did in just pinpointing the different regions of your eye and committing those areas to one color or one of the duochromes. And I think it works out well because even though Aqua Dream is probably the punchiest out of the bunch, you can just kind of layer the others as you like. Maybe start out with Aqua Dream just for it to be the cornerstone of your look, and then feather out using the other duochromes or the other soft mattes. And you probably noticed that I fixed my wing. Yes, it was bothering me, so I adjusted it off camera. All that to say, Pastel Dream is a blast to use, and I'm happy that I was able to pick it up when I did. I would have been happy to wait for it when it came back in stock, but looking forward to see what else Danessa releases. Will she release separate pans, individual pans, more smaller Freedon Palette mini sections in that there'll be other color stories, or maybe a new formula? Possibilities are endless. I would love for her to release maybe like a groundwork neutral defining neutrals mini, or a blooming romance mini, because those palettes definitely have the customization one feature where they're magnetic, but I haven't seen individuals in those dimensions being released yet. But if we could get that formula, the velvet pomade and the fixed powder, something powder in these pans, that will be interesting. But who knows? Happy About Pastel Dream is a fantastic spring summer palette. You can't go wrong with these hues, whether you want to apply them, the soft mattes all over your lid or the foil flake shimmers all over your lid, pair them as they appear already in the palette, or mix and match as we did for the demo. Possibilities are endless. Let me know if you picked up Pastel Dream recently, what you think of it, and if you have any other tips to share with our friends, please let us know down below. And if you made it this far, make sure you like this video by clicking the thumbs up. It helps me tremendously, and it also recommends my videos to fellow beauty enthusiasts like yourself. And consider subscribing, because if you want to see that 6-look video using Pastel Dream, well, you would only know if you click the notification bell and will be alerted of that upload immediately. And if you want to check out the Blurring Balm powder in 5.5, I already have the product but wanted to test out the new shade, as well as 2 new blush purchases. Of course, I can't stay away from the blushes. You can click that video here. I'll see you in that video down in the comments for this video, and on here again next time.